the area where the first bit of harvest happens for some of the people at home. Still got a couple hours before low water, so this little area here should dry off a little bit more and we should be able to get down inside the tide line to have a look for some seafood there. Might get lucky. I think all of the kids that grew up in the coastal communities hear from their parents and grandparents is that when the tide is out, the table is set, meaning, you know, once the tide recedes and the shoreline is exposed, there's opportunity to get out and harvest clams, you know, chitons, mussels, our seaweeds, you know, abalone if you're lucky enough, sea scallops. There's so many different little creatures out there that you can harvest and have a good meal from. My oldest great uncle, he owned a little mosquito vessel, so as young as I can remember, like to be old enough to hold a knife, and whenever he went out anywhere, he took me along with him and showed me the areas and where I needed to go to harvest and what times, and that's where it started. The harvesting is what I base my timing around a lot of the year, so a lot of it works around the seasons of the year. The different moons, the different tides, that all affects what we're harvesting and the time of year we're harvesting it. The newer moons and the full moons are the bigger tides, so those are the times to get out onto the beaches and try to harvest what you can. So I just found this purple urchin in this tide pool here. I just caught him eating the same thing I just been harvesting this morning. So, some chitons. Based on the upbringing that we all have, right, that everything is interconnected to each other and we have to understand the balance. We all learn that growing up, so, you know, if you happen to go to an area and you see it's, you know, been harvested quite frequently, you try to move to a different area, or otherwise we're going to deplete the stock that's in the area. And it all depends on what you're harvesting, right? Traditional knowledge is knowledge that's been passed on through the generations, so from our ancestors on to our grandparents to our own parents, our aunts and uncles, and now my generation is, you know, we're passing on to our children and on to our nieces and nephews, and that's, you know, what I consider to be our traditional knowledge. The marine plans have identified specific areas that are frequent harvesting areas for ourselves that are set aside with certain protections that only allow uses for haidas to get in there and harvest specific species. So that's going to be key for our future generations to have the opportunity to get out and harvest what's there set aside for us.
God, humongous! Look at that!
Traditional knowledge was a huge component to the Haida Gwaii Marine Plan process. When we first engaged in this back in the mid-2000s, community consultation happened through door-to-door visits. Individuals were identified that were frequent harvesters of all species, and we did a lot of one-on-one interviews with a lot of the older haidas, you know, middle-aged haidas and young haidas that were experienced in harvesting, that identified the key areas for ourselves to set aside for our own uses.
I got it! I got it open, Miss Penny. Look. Well done!
So that played a big role, and then once the community consultation process ended, we developed a work group that provided input into the technical planning piece to help us develop a solid plan.